Hello, everyone. I believe that as citizens of this planet, we have many things that we must achieve, but near to the top is that we should uplift each other. And the best tool for uplifting each other is getting to know each other, communicating effectively. And if we do that, the results are limitless. When my girlfriend was trying to convince me to do this TED Talk, I used the fable of the chicken and the pig to convince her that I didn't want to do it. You see, the chicken and the pig lived near to a restaurant that was failing, and they decided that they wanted to help. And maybe what we should do is put a new item on the menu, ham and eggs. The chicken said, "Yes, I'm in." And the pig, though, he was cautious because the chicken can supply the eggs for the ham and egg meal, and it would be just that, a donation. But the pig realized that if he were to give the ham, it would require a total commitment. I saw myself as the pig, but luckily for me, my total commitment is not so drastic. I want to tell you guys about Neil deGrasse Tyson, the American astrophysicist. Neil intends to break down the barriers between science and the general public because he needs to convey difficult concepts and he needs to make them accessible to the common folk. And to this end, there's Neil. Neil wants to convey all of this to everyone. And so because he needs to do that, he has become a one-man band of communication. He's on YouTube, he has podcasts, he's on every kind of medium that he can use. And he says that he wants to make sure that this difficult thing is available. Neil is successful. I know that because my Saturday detention boy in high school told me that that man has said smart things without causing us to sound stupid. Now, Neil has over 12 million Twitter followers, and he has a comic strip made for and about him. His topics range from aliens to my kind of food, spicy food. Neil is not going to stop because he hopes. On a recent YouTube interview with Logic, he said that he wishes for civilization to develop a scientific language so that we can be better citizens towards the future of our planet. We have that responsibility. This man's success has nothing to do with the fact that People magazine has determined that he's the sexiest astrophysics alive. John Newton, the next person I want to tell you about, was a slave trader. He did fairly well, even though he has the reputation of being terrible to his cargo, enslaved people. At some point, though, he had, and those of us read history know, that there was a sort of storm and he almost lost some of his cargo of enslaved people. And he thought briefly about stopping, but it was a lucrative business, and so he did not. Eventually, though, he got converted and became a priest and also joined the abolitionists. In his rethinking about his life, this man decided to give up his slave trade, and he wrote a hymn, a song that is so popular that it is supposed to be sung in the United States approximately 10 million times per year. It is on the bestseller list in Newton's England and has been performed by as varied a people as Elvis Presley, Ray Charles, John Legend, the former President of the United States, and some random AP teachers. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I know what he sees. I know what he sees. He sees that my path was wrong. I need to change it. And he communicated that difference to us. What I was doing was wrong. Let me change it. And let me tell you about it. I want to think that perhaps some of the enslaved people that Newton traded landed on a Caribbean island, my home, Jamaica. In the 1970s, we had a lot of political upheavals. People were fighting and killing, warring factions each other. And the leaders of the country seemed either unwilling or unable to stop this. Luckily for us, they knew some people who knew how to communicate, the musicians. And so the musicians, led by the great philosopher Bob Marley, yeah, I know you agree with me, decided that they were going to try to do something. They had a concert that we called a peace concert. Bob was singing on stage and just having a good time, because Bob knows that one good thing about music is that when it hits you, you feel no pain. So he was using music and had the inspiration to invite these two political leaders on stage to see if perhaps he could get something to happen. He implored them, would you join me on stage and maybe just touch hands so that the warring factions would see that we are human? And they did. Which by extension is saying to their followers, let's stop the war, let's make some peace. That had a wonderful effect because they managed to convey to them, to communicate with them that we can do this. History says that Bob was singing Jammin, and I want to share the words. I'm not going to sing it, don't worry. But it's there, and I love the words because it just says that we can't be bought. This thing cannot be. It just has to be communicated, and then maybe we'll get the message. In addition to these people, I want to tell you about Theodore Geisel, or Dr. Seuss, as we know him. He wrote children's books and had some level of success also. But the regular Dick and Jane, it was boring. These children were perfect. They just lived wonderful lives. And yes, children and parents bought it. But there was no excitement. And so luckily for us, Geisel and his publisher did some kind of survey to find out what is going on. Business is just that, ordinary. In their research, they found out the things I told you about it just being And so what happened? A magnificent cat who found a rhyming hat was born. This book is supposed to be the 9th most read book, both sold. And the children in this setup, they were normal. They got into mischief. The cat did things. There was excitement. That is what made this book as popular it is. As I'm trying to paint a picture of people who have communicated, but there's a difference between communicating and effectively communicating. I believe that it doesn't matter where you're from, what your circumstances are, or anything, we have a responsibility to communicate. I want to remind you again of Bob Marley, who put Ethiopian Selassie's words to music to give us a warning that if we don't get to know each other or get to like each other, we're going to be in trouble. Bob says, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, we're going to get in trouble, perhaps even war. Thomas Mann implores us, he says we ought to be ashamed to die until we have won some victory for humanity. And then I want to tell you about a tour guide I met in Germany. It's some years ago, and she's an older woman. She rode her bicycle to come and speak to us. I suspect she did this because it was easier to ride than to walk. And after we had spent many days together and gotten to know each other some, it was the time for us to come home. Us being myself and some students here. And she got us together and she said, I'm begging you to do something for me. I want you to come back and visit us. Visit us as often as you can and whenever you can. Because when you don't visit us or I don't visit you, when we don't know each other, when we are strangers, then we are weak. And it is easy for them to lie to you about me and for me about you. I agree with her. I agree with her. I believe her. I know that we must get together. We must find a way to communicate. And only then will we be able to uplift each other. And if we do that, then the power of our communication is limitless. Thank you.